Let's welcome our hosts, Jay Cherish and Dame Deity. This is Millennial Intent, conversations that matter.
Welcome to today's episode. We're going to be discussing yellow journalism, the fake news. So everybody's like familiar with Instagram and Facebook and so on. Social media has become its own wealth of information. But I don't know if everybody's familiar with the term yellow journalism. Yellow journalism is a style of newspaper reporting that has emphasized sensationalism over facts. Back in the day, and you can go read this and look it up, it's a thing called heyday back in the 1900s when there's many factors that help push United States, and Spain's war in Cuba and the Philippines. And this led to overseas terrorism by the United States. So back then, the United States used to use certain propaganda to force their own agenda in the newspapers and news articles and whatever, to force an agenda, what it calls sensationalism. When you think of sensationalism, it's when the newspapers and people that have agendas use shock value to push their own narrative inside the public's eye to raise expression and provokes sensationalism of fear or anger or whatever their agenda is. That's the same thing when it comes to fake news. Nowadays, social media pushes their propaganda by forcing you into this thing that not necessarily might be true, but they have their own agenda. And is it fair to us as consumers when we think that's real information that's not checked are used and to use it to our emotion to either buy or sell or pay to an agenda to vote for another person or party? It's not fair as individuals because you're not giving us facts. You're giving us opinion and using information to strive emotion. And we want to talk about that today. I don't like fake news. You know why? Because it doesn't give the consumer the idea to think of, is this right or wrong? Instead, you have everybody swayed and to push their own narratives. And if you're not a part of this group and peer group and the way you think like us, you're against us. What happened to real news when we're just stating the facts? We're just stating information. And then you have the public to have an opinion instead of forcing an opinion on the public. So I want to discuss fake news. Is Donald Trump right? Or is it a part of the agenda?
I don't know about the agenda, but it's definitely become a global issue. I was also reading some things. What is his name? Elon Musk was saying that free speech is the bedrock of the foundation of democracy. I mean, apparently this is a big thing. I believe Bill Gates said some things on it too. They seem to be on two opposite ends of the spectrum where Elon Musk is saying, freedom of speech for everybody. And Bill Gates is saying free speech. However, we don't want you pushing violence, or I think he was saying that misinformation about vaccines. And although I understand what he's trying to say, I still feel like that is a part of control. I say give everybody all the information that they need to be informed and let the people decide. Freedom of speech all the way.
Exactly. And I heard that there was a lot of people because Elon Musk, was changing Twitter because he changed it to X, and he's giving that platform so people can speak true news or speak. And a lot of people are like, oh, like I see celebrities saying, I no longer want to be a part of the narrative. And I'm just like, well, if it's freedom of speech and he's giving everybody a platform to speak it, what is the difference? They're saying like, oh, well, it's more of you're giving the opportunity for people to spread fake or just other agendas. And I'm just thinking, well, everybody else has been a part of the agenda. Like, what's the difference with people speaking the truth? I think people don't want to hear the truth, maybe. People don't want to listen to. They rather listen to the media or the news that has agendas. Now, without
I don't know what the
opinions.
agenda, air quotes, is, but I know this absolutely is like a bid for control. I don't think this has really anything to do with air quotes again, speaking the truth. I think this is, you say what I want to say up until what I tell you not to say. Just like when people were speaking, I'm not pro or for, my opinions on the vaccine are mute. I have no interest, no dog in that fight. So, but the thing is, when people were back in the day, or excuse me, back in 2020, when they were censoring people's comments by saying, oh, well, this about the vaccine isn't true, and this about the vaccine isn't true, or this, whatever. And then it turns out that a lot of those claims were actually true, but you were censoring everything people were, trying to, were saying about it or coming up with their own conclusions. So I think that's a problem, because when you try to control people's, even their conversation, I think there's an issue. Give people the facts. And then you're telling people that they're not even allowed to look at the results for the vaccine for long periods of time. That's not an informed decision. So
exactly,
it's just control.
And I believe in that, because I like what you said. It's just control, because when the pandemic hit and nobody knew of this virus, the average person didn't know where COVID-19 came from. Everything you said about COVID was, like you said, like you couldn't even say anything. However, when they came out with the vaccine, it was forced down our throats. I mean, every post had it, everything that you walk past, every news channel. And it was like, if in a lot of times, especially if you worked in certain fields, you couldn't go to work unless you get the shot. And it was like no testing. It wasn't like, okay, what is the information about it? Let me do some research. It was like, no, you agree or not. That was it. And it was like, you couldn't tell somebody if you wanted to get a COVID shot or you didn't, because it was like, people are dying and they were going down your throat. Today, they're saying, well, it was just forced. It wasn't, I didn't have, or individuals didn't have any rights. And it was on the news. It was forced down your throat. And then it made you feel so guilty that if you don't get this shot, that you can't even feed your family. You can't even go out. And it was just the media controlled it. And then come to find out later on, they didn't even have all the answers. And I think,
please
no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think the thing that bothered me about that whole incident was the fact that people act like vaccine injury isn't actually a thing. The fact that you're basically acting like there were no risk in taking something into your body that that was foreign at the time and that hadn't really been tested. I mean, yes, like the base of the specific vaccine had been around, but of course this is new. The fact that you're acting, or you're still acting as if there's absolutely no risk to taking this, and saying, well, the risk outweigh the reward, but that's to that person. For that individual, for certain individuals, there is a such thing as vaccine injury. I think what bothered me the most is the government and the officials were trying to cover it up, saying that it's completely safe for everybody, and then being completely surprised, quote, air quotes, there we go, surprised when, oh my gosh, these people have thrombosis. Oh, that can't happen from the thing, and cardiomyopathy, or that can't happen. And the fact that you saw the evidence presented in front of you and you still said, oh, well, no, that's just not the vaccine. And then after all the evidence kept compiling, that we saw that there was a trend. So there was things, instead of saying, hey guys, there is risk. We know that there's risk even when you take Tylenol. We know that there's risk when you take ibuprofen. Damage to your kidneys, damage to your liver. There's risk when you drink too much water. We're not saying that. What I'm saying was, you were taking, to pad and to get more people to try it, you were taking everybody's informed decision away from them. And anybody who was trying to share information with other people, because you saw it as fear mongering, instead of sharing the information, you went, oh, you're not allowed to say anything. This person isn't telling the truth. This person is only telling half the truth. And that was such a dangerous time to be alive, because so many people were getting hurt as a result of the vaccine. And these are things, instead of sharing the information with the medical community, I believe that a lot of people could have been saved had the information been discussed with our medical providers. We could have even prevented it and knew what to look for, if that makes sense.
I agree. And a lot of it now, I was reading an article the other day, and one of the representatives was stating, well, when you get the COVID shot, that it doesn't say you're not going to get COVID. It's just going to prevent certain vaccines. I mean, you still get disease, but that wasn't the narrative at first. It was like, you get the shot, you prevent disease.
Yeah, it's 100%.
And now they're saying, oh no, that's not what we said. And it's like, well, that's what you initially put out in the media. That's what you said. And a lot of people were getting the shot. Why would they think, oh, well, it's like the flu shot. You're going to get it, but you can still get the flu. Okay. Why would I bullet that keeps you from getting the virus? And I'm just like, why would you put it in there? And you're using us as blatant test subjects because you don't have any testing to do it. So you're using the whole United States population in the world to be your real test subject. And I just thought it was kind of invasive. And it was like you had to choose between, do I want this or do I want to go to work? I don't want to go to work. Unless a lot of people said, you know what, we're not going to go to work. We're not going to, for one, you're risking your life. The media is telling us this, but this is not what it is. And I think that when we're seeing fake news, it's about misleading information. It's about having
or not even complete information.
Not disclosing the full truth because you want people to think this way. You don't want them to have an opinion. You don't want to think for themselves instead of saying this is what it is. And then you have to conclude your own opinion. We're all adults.
Right.
However, you didn't give them that option.
I think what disappointed me is that our federal government felt as if we as adults and young adults and older adults were not smart enough to make an informed decision, that they felt that they had to censor the information, and they still feel as though they have to censor the information because we're not smart enough to take that in. We know as a people that, you know, everything has its risk. When you go in and get your blood drawn, even though it's minimal risk and it's a simple procedure, that you can get an infection or you can get, MRSA, or you can get anything like that. Even though it's simple, we know the risk. Even when you go and get a mammogram, it carries risk of more radiation exposure, but we know that these things are important, that risk outweighs the health benefits outweigh the risk, and that it is mandatory and something we need to do. And the fact that they didn't feel like we were intelligent enough to get this information and to make an informed decision, and that you had to give us these little bitty pieces or not just put everything out there, I think is a disturbing catalyst, because this is going to continue into whatever pandemic comes next. And this just doesn't sound, and it doesn't sit right with me.
And I don't think they don't believe as American citizens that we are intelligent. I mean,
True.
The average person, we don't do anything but sit on social media and just glance at information. And
don't say we, friend.
I'm just saying, nobody's listening to NPR all day, but the older people and actually getting information. We're just listening to watered down information from either CNN or, Fox News. But I just feel like I at first I didn't understand when Donald Trump was saying that, the narrative of the public and their agenda toward him and how he wants to change the demographics on how information is put out there. And I was just like, well, that's not letting everyone have free speech. And I was like, well, how could he control it in that way? But I guess he's saying, if at first I thought he was bullying them, like, if you're not with me and you're not saying what I want you to say, everybody's going against me, because he felt like the Democrats were controlling the media at the time during the election, and they were controlling the narrative on everything was against him. He's a felon, this and that. And I was like, well, it's still contradicting, because you can't tell them what they can't say and then only have them to your own agenda. Now, I believe that if you're going to be a credible news source, it needs to be credible and truthful information as
and
much
unbiased.
and but everything on there is biased because people, even when they're newscasters, they have their own personal opinions about that and they're strongly about it. And then you go play that to the public. I don't think that some of them can take that out of place. They think they can, but like even when I'm speaking now, I'm speaking from I generally speak from an open-minded perception. I want to hear, like, that's just me. I want to hear your opinion. I want to my opinion, and then I want to meet in the middle. Like, But when they're doing the media, it's not about that. It's about this is the narrative, and this is what I'm going to promote. And if you're not a consumer or a person that does your research, your source with all this information, that is not necessarily true.
I think what's even worse is the fact that people think that Wikipedia is source material.
And they don't know about primary source material. People think just because you Google it is right, and it's not.
Oh my gosh.
And you go to Google, and the first thing, there's Google ads. There's people that pay to get their information on Google to be the first thing you see because we're too lazy to go through it and really find the information, And I think that hurts us as individuals. And it's like, oh, well, and other people say college doesn't really determine, but it helps you think a little bit more. It gives you that term to like, okay, let me research what is primary source? Where am I getting this source of information from? That's like me fighting information and looking on Wikipedia to get something that's educational.
I don't think that's a college. I don't think that's a college thing. I think that's a people that seek knowledge. Anybody who knows, I don't think you have to go to school to want to seek knowledge. I think you just have to go. What college may be good for is learning how to navigate and find other ways to find those credible sources. But if you know where your library is, you know that that's source material.
I think growing up, we were at the library all the time. That was our fun place, our Books-A-Million, our Borden's, our Barnes and Noble. Those were the fun places for us back in the day. But I mean, a lot of people don't do their research. And some people, I'm not saying necessarily you have to go to college. Maybe because I didn't learn that in grade school or high school or whatever. And I learned that through college. But some people are just born knowledge seekers. And like some people have to learn to be a knowledge seeker. I mean, you don't have to go to college to gain information. The information's out there for free. I mean, you have a walking computer in your hand every day, that source of knowledge. But I'm just saying, know the source of the information and where it's coming from. Is it coming from a biased
source?
Person? Yeah, you know what I mean? Is it coming from a place like, where did they get their source of material? Did they hearsay? Because I mean, stuff can get diluted as it comes on to the news, but just know what you're reading, know what you're talking about before you go out there, have all this speech, and it's not true. And nobody wants to admit they're not right. They don't want to look
I miss
stupid.
those days of like, what was it, Ted Koppel and what's the other guy, Peter Jennings. And
we're ABC News junkies.
Yeah, like back in the day, what was it, George Stephanopoulos and all those different people, where like obviously they have their own opinion, of course, but that wasn't discussed. Like they were good at kind of like hiding that shit. Now I think George Stephanopoulos was more of an opinion type person, but I know like Ted Koppel and Peter Jennings, there were definitely people who like were able to keep their opinions to themselves and just deliver the news as it was. I don't know about you, but that's what I used to watch. I could have been wrong.
No, I agree. It's just so much rhetoric going on. And I think the social media has taken its own form of newscasting. And like it could fly with a whole fake story. I remember sometimes I saw this little girl and it was a post like, find this little girl who's on there and send money to her thing. And then people are just passing around. Oh my goodness, this little baby's lost and her parents are taking donations. And it was a whole fake story. You see those on social media and you're passing it. And then until someone says, girl, that's fake. Take that down. That's not even true. Like it's propaganda or whatever. And you're like, oh my goodness, you don't even know. And you're just sharing fake. You get what I'm saying? You're just sharing fake information without even knowing the root of it. And
I don't share nothing. Don't ask me to share nothing.
But I'm just like, oh my God, find the baby. And it's not even a true story.
Child not even low. Child not even low.
Mama's on there trying to get donations.
Right.
Mama trying to pay bills. But I'm just saying, we get our information from social media and we don't even think to do any research. We just hear it from somebody and that's another thing. We hear it from Uncle Tim or Uncle JJ. That's a reader. He reads the newspaper anyway. So I know he is credible, but he has not done his research either. And you think he's right. And now you just pass around fake news. So that's just how it goes.
I completely agree. Yeah. But the problem is, other than going to your library and looking at books, where are we supposed to go for source material? Exactly. Like, you went to college. I'm asking you, like, what are places that people can go and find source information?
I mean, a lot of good source information is like listening to public broadcasting. Most of the time, like NPR and PBS and BBC, they actually go and get real primary source material. They vet their information. They're not out there just passing news around. They actually do research and go about, public television. It's underrated. It's most of the time, people know about it, the people that are knowledge seekers. But when you're listening to programs like that, they really give you strong source material.
Well, BBC has their own versions of, propaganda too, or yellow journalisms too.
That's true. But I mean, like the ones in public broadcasting.
Yeah, PBA
is more vetted. PBS.
Yeah, PBS. I couldn't
get it. NPR radio, anything of that nature, have more vetted information. I mean, sometimes they have agendas, but most of the time it's just each party speaking their truth about information that's informative, that has been really vetted. And when you're looking at stuff like that, just look at the source of where it's coming from. It's not a gossip site. Maybe it's from a Department of Education or a school or a university that had went and actually did research on the topic. If you just want news and you don't care and you're just passing around agenda pieces, if it's even informed about your kids and about health and about concerns, right now, the main thing, if you're looking for food safety, you go to the CDC.
That's exactly what I do. Seriously.
If you want to go, I don't just go to the Weather Channel to look at the news. If you want to go look at the hurricane, there's hurricane actual sites to go to. So I just think about when you're looking at, if it comes to the health and information, don't just stop at, oh, this is what they're saying in the news. Actually go and do a little more research and stay off social media. Don't get your first information from Wikipedia. Don't get the first information for the first thing you see on Google. Do some other research. The news shouldn't be always your source. Kind of go pick up a book.
And then what I don't like about Wikipedia is that it discredits the primary sources a lot of the time. So like first-hand account, it'll be like, oh, that's not what happened. You weren't even there.
Yeah.
Like, I understand nobody was there, but the fact that you're just like, when a person is telling their story and you're telling that person that it didn't happen. I remember getting an argument about somebody about like an old game console, and they were just like, well, on Google, it says it costs this much. I said, I don't know if you know this, but I predate Google. I was there.
I was there.
And he just looked at me. I am the source.
I am the source.
I'm looking at him like, I literally bought it. I went and got it. I don't care what Google says. I understand that Google is comprised of millions and millions of people put in the data. So it eventually comes into that. But my thing is, you can't go somebody's lived experience. You can't tell them it's different than that. Like, that's crazy.
And you know what? Another thing that bothers me, I know might not be the fake news topic, but the Netflix documentaries. Like, people go and really think that Netflix is for entertainment purposes. And when it says based off a true story, only for them to use that based on true events, only 10% of that.
Oh my God.
I had an argument with someone one time where we're just talking, and I'm just thinking about like, okay, they're doing a documentary on let's say Menendez brothers, I don't know. And some
Yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah.
scenes when they're by themselves and it's only just two, and they're like, how do you people know this information? How do you know this is what they said? And I had somebody like, that's the truth. I'm like, you're a fly on the wall. The director was a fly on the wall and they told them this stuff. You don't know. You have to think about, they use their imagination, but people really use this information as documentary source
Bro,
material. And it just gets
imagine
me.
getting into arguments with people about Bridgerton, and then you have to tell them that that's a fake story.
No, you
Like,
can't say that. Like Wakanda is not a real place.
Girl, when I told somebody that Wakanda is not a real place in Africa, which
what? Are you serious? Stop it. Stop it. The lies you tell right now.
I literally told somebody, I was like, wait, that's not a real place? I said,
what?
Bruh.
It's by Ethiopia. What do you mean?
The biggest pit
it's
of
by
hell.
Turkey.
Girl.
I'm just saying. And then the fact that they'll fight you about the truth without even knowing themselves, just to see. Pride is your biggest fault. That's the thing about people. You're so prideful. And then when somebody makes you like, no, Brute, I'd rather you tell me that I'm wrong than I'm walk around here. Like, that's like,
no, even, just show, like, just,
no, like when
like,
you're at
counter
a job,
me,
right?
like, show me the information to where I'm wrong. Don't just get on what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, don't just say I don't know what I'm talking about. It's knowledge. Yeah. Give it to me. Teach me. Yeah. I remember the time I was doing something at work and I'm following the instructions, and like you said, I'm reading something. How about it was wrong the whole time, but I don't know it's wrong, so I continue to do it until somebody said that's not right, and like, why is that right? Well, I'm reading and I showed them instructions. Well, whoever wrote those instructions were wrong. I'm just following them until you just continually do the thing. So that's what I'm saying about any information. You're going to continue to spread unknowledgeable information unless you say, hey, like, let me open my eyes to any agenda and see if this is real or fake. When you hear something, even with the agendas that are going on, I don't want to go so in depth in it right now.
Agenda today. What is with the agenda?
It's the word I want. There's something else I want to use, but I feel like I can't say it because, this cancel culture, you can't say and that's the thing about it. Why can't I say what I want to say without it being ostracized? Can I use the word
censored?
Or just like if I want to say something and then it's like you're in interrogation, like you can't be free to speak what you want to say without the public saying
you
that's
definitely
wrong.
Can, but freedom of consequence.
Freedom, and that's the difference, right? The consequences of the bullies of the media if you don't agree with them. Big bullies.
I think the thing is to have thick skin. If you're going to say what you want to say, then you have to be able to take the backlash of the brunt of what you're going to say. That's why I ain't got no friends now, because I'm not worried about it. I'd sleep just fine with you not liking me. So I say what I want to say, and I live with my 1.5 friends, and that's just what it is. I'm not here to be popular. Carry on.
In the words of Mimi Leaks, I said what I said, and then I'm done.
Hello.
Oh my goodness. I could go on with this for day, and I could just chit chat with you all day, honestly. Understanding information is important, and knowing where the source of the information is coming from. Mm-hmm. Just going and using social media or using a word of a friend doesn't mean the information is true. Freedom of speech is out there, but freedom of consequences, you're right on that. You can say what you say, but you better be ready to,
said what I said.
Understand the backlash that comes with it. Yeah. And do you agree with just freedom of speech and people can say how they feel?
I do. But the thing is, as long as you're not like, and I know this is going to be completely left and you're going to go, I know she didn't just say that, but like, if you're racist and you want to be racist, that's your problem. You have the right to be dumb. It's that. And I'm not saying it's fine, but I mean, it's no skin off my nose. If you want to be a jerk, that's on you. But as long as you don't incite people to hurt other people, or you don't incite people to, um I don't know, give the best performance. Like if you're a doctor or something like that, you don't want to treat certain people. You don't need to be in the medical field, but you have the right to whatever you want to do. Like that's none of my personal business. Like that has never bothered me
No,
because
I agree.
I guess I'm a realist and I just
Mm-hmm.
know that people are not going to like you and people are not going to want to be near you. And though we may see it as non-logical, it is not my job to figure out the opinions or the feelings of people. Like that's not what I'm here for, if that makes sense.
No, no, no. I agree what you're saying. However, it's just like if you let's make an example of like a racist person or whatever. If you're in a job as a policeman or like you said, a doctor or a
Yeah.
lawyer, or let's
Yeah.
say not even necessarily a lawyer, but a judge, right? And
Yeah.
you are in sight, or you yourself know you're racist. You can't take like just because this is me personally. If I don't like anybody, I know how to take myself out of the equation to give that other person, no matter how I feel about them, the equal treatment as I would do myself, my
Right.
child, my mother. But sometimes people can't distinguish that line in their
Agree.
hatred,
Agree.
especially when you're a police officer. Maybe
Yeah.
you shouldn't be in these type of positions,
Mm-hmm.
or if you're a newscaster or if you're a broadcaster and you feel so strongly about this, maybe that shouldn't be your topic, or that maybe you shouldn't be in that position because you can't give a biased opinion,
Unbiased.
unbiased
Yeah.
opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of people get those lines blurred
Yeah.
because they can't separate that stuff. Like I agree with you. If you want to be racist, there's nothing I can do about that. I don't really care.
Exactly. I can't change
But
you.
if you decide to take that into, I'm not going to let this person get a job because I don't want to be next to that person, then that's when there is a problem.
Do I think it's absolutely illogical? Yes.
Mm.
Do I think your personal feelings make no sense to me? Why you hate this person simply based on their skin color or where they're from?
Mm-hmm.
No, I do not. But I mean, the thing is, these people are in our government. These people
Exactly.
are our doctors. These people are
Mm-hmm.
our lawyers. These people are our nurses. These people are our politicians and everything else. And they've been here and they've been making the moves. And it is what it is. I mean, that's all I can say. I just I go what's in front of me. So if I feel like you're not on my side, then either you're going to hear me or you're going to get somebody else to hear me. I can only move one person at a time. You know what I mean?
I agree. And I know that a lot of people can't. I've seen nurses not treat people because they don't like them, or I just see information given because they don't like an individual. And I think that that's where, you know,
Nurses, doctors, and everything else.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
that's where it becomes an issue. And
Yeah.
that's when the information is so blurred when it goes out to the public, because now it's the media is saying, oh, this is a race war and this and then you hear all this stuff going on in the news. Some people don't even want to turn on the news and turn on the information because it's so skewed toward whatever is going on instead of the truth. I mean, people have to look at, people as individuals. You can't help what another person thinks or how they feel, but this
Yeah.
is what the truth lies.
Exactly.
There's so much to be gotten from this topic. We'll have to conclude it again next time. Do you have
Absolutely.
any closing thoughts on that?
All I can say is, guys, check your sources, check your sources, check your sources. And you can't change people, but you can change what you do for yourself. You can decide how you move. You can decide how you treat people, and just hope that it rubs off on somebody else. Hopefully you treating somebody like a good person can give them some enlightenment. So do unto others as you would do for yourself and shine a little, I guess.
Yes. I love that. And how about let's not lie to each other. Let's not tear down the truth. The truth is the truth. And what's so bad about the truth? It is what it is. Let your light so shine. Let some good positive words come out your mouth today. All right. Well, thank you for joining Millennial Intent Conversations That Matter. I'm your girl, Jay Cherish.
And I'm Dame Deity.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye. To hear more from Millennial Intent, hit like and subscribe. And don't forget to tell a friend.